mean, think of the power of this, George, that if you have this knowledge about how to transform the human body into a higher celestial form, and you're living with extraterrestrials, you're going to be marked for elimination by most governments.
Why were authorities hiding this? What were they afraid of?
Well, because back then there was no empire greater than Rome. What are you talking about?
Of course not.
Right? And
if you said that,
exactly,
off goes your head.
Exactly. So the Essenes were threatening to Rome in that regard, because they're talking about a complete flip-flop of civilization and the power structure on this planet, and linking us to the cosmic realms into greater empires than we can even conceive in this planet.
The Dead Sea Scrolls physically are made up of what?
Some are lambskin, some are papyrus. They're very fragile. In fact, this was part of the problem when they were discovered, is that the scholars that originally handled them totally mishandled them. They would leave them exposed to the elements and didn't take care of them very well. And they were literally disintegrating right before our very eyes. As long as they were in those jars in the caves, they were hermetically sealed and they're absolutely fine. And then when exposed to the elements, they started to decompose. Yeah.
And they're almost a couple thousand years old.
Yes, they are. Yes.
That's remarkable.
It's truly remarkable. I mean, what a gift it is that we have this knowledge today. We're able to go back and piece this puzzle together.
Who interpreted them? I mean, they were written in what?
They were written mostly in
What?
Aramaic. And you had scholars, there's a whole team that were assembled to initially decipher the scrolls and to translate them.
Did they have an oh my God moment when they're looking at them and they say, oh, look?
It was so controversial because it became so apparent that this is the origins of Christianity. And some even go so far as to say that Jesus may have even held these actual documents. He quoted from them.
Maybe he even wrote some of them.
He probably didn't literally write them, but it's very possible that he himself actually handled these manuscripts and studied from them. That is so profound to think about that.
A lot of people confuse the Dead Sea Scrolls with the Bible in Genesis. Are we talking about two different things here?
Yeah, we're talking two completely different scenarios. The book of Genesis was primarily composed around 600 BC, so this is about 300 years before the Essenes started getting their movement together.
And who wrote Genesis?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, they say Moses wrote the book of Genesis, and there was no real awareness or understanding of that before the time of Moses. And some people believe actually Moses channeled the book of Genesis from Yahweh, that Yahweh told Moses this history.
You have devoted several episodes of Ascension Keepers to the teachings of Gnostics.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get into that.
After the genocide of the Essenes in 68 AD, the 1st to 4th centuries AD saw the Essene Ascension teachings go underground and reform as Gnostic. This religion was so named because it depended upon personal spiritual revelation, the gnosis, or knowledge of God. Gnosis simply means knowledge, especially of divine mysteries, pointing to the mystical desire of the Gnostics to expand their consciousness beyond ordinary perception and to see beyond the veil. This enables access to the divine realm, and according to some scholars, the mystical path by which the Gnostics attained illumination is mapped and teachable. This means anyone can follow this path. Whereas in the past, ascending to God's throne and seeing his face was prohibited, and in my humble opinion, thanks to the Essenes, now a shift had happened. The Gnostics, practicing what they called Hekalat and Merkabah teachings, now began to emphasize the practice of ascension and seeing God.
I think if you'd lived during those days, you would have been a Gnostic or an Essene.
I'm pretty sure.
One of the other.
Absolutely. Totally resonate and get these stories. When you're talking about the scenes, feel very comfortable and have almost a cellular memory of what that must have been like to be there.
Can you be both a Gnostic and an Essene?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because gnosis really just means knowledge or enlightenment. It's about the quest for enlightenment.
So these were well-educated people?
Super well-educated. And this is one of the misnomers about the disciples of Jesus, for example. They're often presented as these fairly simple fishermen and carpenters and things of this nature. But actually, these are some of the most highly trained mystical initiates of all time. They were very, very illuminated.
What did they feel about extraterrestrials?
Well, they didn't use the word extraterrestrial, but they talked profusely about angels and that humans could become angels or celestial beings and dwell in other worlds. One of their great inspirations was Pythagoras, the great mathematician.
Sure.
And
numerology came from him.
Absolutely.
Right?
So many of our mathematical principles. Well, Pythagoras believed that all the planets in our solar system are inhabited, and that the further out that you go into space, the lighter we become. That there are other planets that are inhabited, and that the beings are not in flesh and blood form. They're in a light body form, and that through sound and through meditation, we can return to that light body form.